There comes a moment in life when the air around you begins to shift. You can't see it, but you can feel it. Something is moving, something unseen is stirring, something invisible is demanding attention. This is the atmosphere of change. It doesn't announce itself with noise. It whispers, nudges, and provokes the heart toward transformation. Change is not an event. It is a climate, an environment, a spiritual temperature that shapes every decision, every step, and every season of your life. You cannot remain where you are and become who you were created to be. Change requires movement. It demands discomfort. It challenges what is familiar so that what is possible can awaken. Many people pray for change but resist the process that produces it. They want transformation without transition, elevation without disruption, new destinations without leaving the old ground. But change comes with a cost. Identity shifts. Relationships are tested. Habits must be broken, and beliefs must be upgraded. When the atmosphere of change surrounds you, it pushes you beyond excuses and invites you into responsibility. It exposes outdated patterns, forces you to confront what you tolerate, and compels you to stop blaming circumstances and start shaping them. Change calls you out of survival and into intention. It says, you were not meant to stay where you started. You were made for more. The atmosphere of change is not comfortable. It is catalytic. It is where things break so new things can be born, where confusion sits beside clarity, and where courage wrestles with fear. In this atmosphere, you discover not only who you are, but who you must become. Your resilience grows, your vision expands, and your capacity increases. Change is the birthplace of destiny. Don't run from it. Don't numb it. Don't silence it. Lean into it. Because everything you prayed for, dreamed about, cried out for, is hidden inside change. The atmosphere is shifting because a transition is at hand. You are being prepared, positioned, and stretched into the future you asked for. When you embrace the atmosphere of change, you stop waiting and start becoming. You realize that change is not happening to you. It is happening for you. And once you adjust to it, you will rise on the wings of transformation into the life that was waiting for you all along. Change is often misunderstood as a sudden moment, a dramatic turning point, or a striking incident that flips a person's life upside down. But in truth, change rarely happens in a single instant. It is not an explosion, it is an atmosphere. It is a climate that surrounds you long before you recognize its presence. It whispers before it speaks loudly. You start sensing it in subtle ways: restlessness in your heart, dissatisfaction with what used to satisfy you, thoughts that don't align with your surroundings anymore, and a quiet awareness that you cannot remain where you are. This is the true nature of change. It is a gradual preparation, a shifting environment that begins shaping you inwardly before anything alters outwardly. When you understand change as an atmosphere, you begin to recognize the phases of growth working around you rather than waiting for a dramatic event to confirm transformation. When the climate of change surrounds you, life initiates new conversations without asking permission. Suddenly, old routines feel too tight. Old thinking sounds too small, and old environments feel too limiting. You find yourself yearning for more, sensing there is something beyond where you are. This is the atmosphere working on you. Just like weather develops over time, winds gather, pressure shifts, clouds form, temperatures rise, change builds in layers. The atmosphere moves first. The storm or breakthrough shows itself later. You are not waiting for change to happen. You are already in it. That inner stirring, that discomfort, that uneasiness. is evidence that change is active and preparing you for something ahead. Many people miss their transformation because they don't understand the environment of change. They expect change to arrive with clarity, comfort, and celebration. Instead, change begins with tension, uncertainty, instability, irritation, fatigue with what used to be normal. This discomfort is not punishment, it is preparation. Growth is never calm in its early stages. Something must stretch, shift, and realign. You are shedding familiar layers and stepping into something undefined. The atmosphere of change surrounds you to recondition your thinking, adjust your posture, and stretch your identity before life moves you physically or situationally. Nothing truly changes outwardly until it has already changed inwardly. To embrace this atmosphere, you must learn to feel what others try to ignore. You must tune into the invisible, the emotional, the spiritual stirrings that suggest something is evolving in your life. The atmosphere trains you before opportunity arrives. It strengthens you before elevation demands your capacity. The environment around you starts rearranging your appetite. What you once tolerated becomes intolerable. Conversations that once fed you now feel empty, and people who once defined you now feel like shadows of your past. This is your internal climate adjusting. Change is not chaos, it is calibration. Consider a seed. It transforms long before any green shoot breaks through the soil. The atmosphere beneath the ground must shift. The moisture, the pressure, the darkness, all work to activate growth. Likewise, your atmosphere of change may feel buried, compressed, and unseen, but something is being activated inside you. The process is slow because identity cannot be rushed. Before your life expands, your mindset must expand. Before opportunity opens, your perception has to open. Change builds the room before it moves you into it. Most people resist or fear this climate because it feels uncomfortable. Yet discomfort is the signal that things are evolving. You cannot grow from a place that fits you perfectly. You only grow when something doesn't feel right anymore. Change is not a smooth surface. It is friction, stretching, and transition. When you feel discontent without knowing why, when you are called to let go without knowing what comes next, or when you feel a pull toward the unknown, you are breathing the atmosphere of change. The change is already happening, and the outward results will follow in time. The wisdom is to stop asking for change only when things visibly shift and start recognizing that change begins long before the results arrive. That inner urging to pray differently, think differently, dream differently, and act differently is change forming around you. Do not ignore it, lean into it. Let it press you, challenge your beliefs, disrupt your familiar patterns, and call you to higher responsibility. The climate is shifting because your life is preparing for the next version of you. If you think change is an event, you will wait for signs and ignore the quiet transformation happening within. But if you recognize change as an atmosphere, you will respond to the internal cues that call you forward. You will understand that the invisible work is the real transformation. Every time you feel restless, every time old areas collapse, every time new desires emerge, you are stepping deeper into change's climate. Growth does not announce its arrival. It surrounds you until you can no longer stay unchanged. The atmosphere of change calls you to evolve before life forces you to. It invites you to participate in the process rather than be dragged through it. Change is already around you, already shaping you, already preparing you. When you embrace the atmosphere you are in, you stop waiting for change and begin becoming change. True transformation is not a gentle invitation, it is a demand. It requires a journey through discomfort, disruption, and unfamiliar territory. People admire growth, but rarely embrace the process that creates it. We wish for elevation, but cling to everything that keeps us grounded. Yet, transformation insists on letting go of what no longer fits your future. It exposes the truth that progress cannot coexist with stagnation, and destiny cannot unfold while you hold on to outdated patterns. There is a price to becoming who you were meant to be, and that price is change. Transformation begins by disturbing the comfort you once cherished. Life whispers through internal pressure, inner conflict, or a sudden loss of interest in the things that previously fulfilled you. You start noticing that you cannot stay in certain conversations, tolerate the same excuses, or remain in environments that once felt normal. This is not dissatisfaction, it is a pull toward growth. You are being stretched. What used to fit you now feels too small because transformation demands expansion. You must rise to a new level, but elevation requires you to shed the weights that were comfortable at lower ground. This is why discomfort is not the enemy, it is the escort of transformation. When life unsettles you, it is not trying to weaken you, it is trying to stretch your capacity. Resistance strengthens muscles. Pressure increases endurance. Pain reveals potential. When you insist on choosing comfort, you deny yourself capacity. However, when you lean into discomfort, you discover reserves of strength you never knew existed. Transformation is a refining fire that burns away limitations and exposes possibilities buried under fear, tradition, and doubt. Courage becomes essential because transformation cannot occur without confrontation. You must confront habits that weaken you, mindsets that shrink you, attitudes that sabotage you, and relationships that drain you. You cannot take everything with you into a higher life. Some things are seasonal. Some people are temporary. Some behaviors are outdated. Transformation is the voice that says, if it cannot grow with you, it cannot go with you. Letting go hurts because comfort feels safe, even when it is limiting. But holding on to what no longer serves you suffocates your future. Real change also demands honesty. You must acknowledge that excuses are barriers disguised as reasons. You must admit that sometimes what you call loyalty is really paralysis. You must face that fear is often the mask you hide under when confronted with possibility. The path to transformation is paved with truth. Truth about who you are, what you avoid, and what you secretly desire. This honesty is uncomfortable, but without it, transformation remains impossible. Letting go is one of the hardest requirements of transformation because letting go means losing identity, routine, and familiarity. You might feel exposed, directionless, or uncertain, like stepping into a room without walls. But transformation gives structure as you grow. What was once unclear becomes purpose. What was once painful becomes strength. What was once confusing becomes clarity. The discomfort you feel is evidence of new life forming inside you. Consider a caterpillar that must enter a cocoon to become a butterfly inside that cocoon. It dissolves, the old identity breaks down so a new form can emerge. That process is not beautiful. It is violent and hidden, yet the transformation is worth the discomfort. You cannot soar while remaining a creature designed to crawl. Many people pray for wings but refuse the cocoon. They desire transformation without dissolution. But real growth requires breaking the version of you that can no longer carry destiny. Transformation demands courage because you will feel alone at times. When you rise, familiar people may not understand you. Old circles may resist your evolution because your change exposes their unwillingness to change. You must have courage to stand in transition even when affirmation is absent. Growth rarely comes with applause. Most times it comes with misunderstanding and isolation. But these uncomfortable places are fertile ground for rebirth, the place where you meet yourself, find your voice, and learn your value without external approval. Letting go does not mean abandoning everything, but it does mean loosening your grip on anything that limits your growth. You will lose versions of yourself that are too small for the calling ahead. You will leave behind mindsets that shrink your possibilities. You will release attachments that keep you stagnant. This is not loss. This is transformation, pruning your life so fruit can grow. As transformation unfolds, you begin to understand that discomfort was not destruction, it was preparation. You were never breaking down. You were breaking open. Every moment of tension was stretching your capacity. Courage became your companion, and letting go became your liberation. What at first felt painful becomes empowering because you step into the realization that the version of you emerging is greater than the version you left behind. Transformation is the doorway to destiny, and though the doorway is narrow and uncomfortable, it leads to a life larger than anything familiar. When you yield to the discomfort, take courageous steps, and release what no longer fits, you begin to evolve, not into someone new, but into who you were meant to be all along. The atmosphere of change is not your enemy. It is your ally, shaping you for the destiny you once prayed for. Too often, people misinterpret change as disruption, loss, or resistance against their hopes. Yet what feels like resistance is actually refinement. What feels like loss is repositioning. And what appears to be chaos is often construction. You may not always understand what is shifting around you, but if you look deeply, you will see that change is working for you and not against you. It is rearranging your life so that what you ask for, even what you secretly long for, can arrive in its proper time. There are moments when you feel as though everything is being dismantled, as though the structure you relied upon is breaking. But change never tears without intention. It clears space for transformation. You cannot pour new blessings into old containers. You cannot step into a new season with outdated foundations. The atmosphere of change enters your life to make room for what is coming. When you prayed for strength, change introduced challenges. When you prayed for wisdom, change delivered lessons. When you prayed for elevation, change presented separation. It might not arrive in the form you expected, but it delivers exactly what you need. The greater the destiny, the deeper the preparation. If your future requires capacity, change brings stretching. If your calling requires courage, change brings uncertainty. If your purpose demands strength, change brings weight. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. Every layer of discomfort is shaping something inside you that comfort could never produce. Your character is being evolved, your mindset upgraded, your endurance increased. Change equips you for what you asked for before you step into it. Sometimes the atmosphere around you shifts quietly. You start losing interest in what once mattered. People who once influenced you begin fading. Habits that felt safe suddenly feel limiting. You may feel isolated, not because something is wrong, but because something is being birthed. Like an eagle that pushes its young out of the nest so they learn to fly. Life sometimes pushes you away from familiarity so you discover wings you never knew you had. The push feels painful, but the purpose is flight. We often fight change because we want results without the process. We want destiny without development. But the future you hope for requires a version of you that cannot remain passive, hesitant, or uncertain. The atmosphere of change molds you, exposing weaknesses you did not know existed and strengths you did not know you possessed. Trials teach you resilience. Delays teach you patience. Loss teaches you value. Waiting teaches you faith. Change is the training ground for the destiny you desire. This reveals something many overlook. Change is an answer, not an interruption. It is the response to the prayers you prayed when you asked life to make you stronger, wiser, deeper, and greater. But answers rarely come wrapped in comfort. They come through transformation. That transformation rearranges you internally before anything becomes visible externally. Once you recognize that change is shaping you, your perception shifts. You stop resisting and start learning. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin saying, what is this preparing me for? When you embrace this perspective, you start to see meaning in discomfort. You begin to trust timing rather than fear transition. You stop clinging to what is leaving and start honoring what is arriving. Change becomes less frightening because you understand it has intention. Seasons do not shift because something is ending. They shift because something new is ready to begin. When life shuts doors, it is because the hallway ahead is waiting. Your destiny is bigger than what fits your current space. That is why the atmosphere around you must shift to enlarge you. Growth is not random, it is guided. Change is positioning you, pruning you, and preparing you. Even the things you thought broke, you were clearing the path for something more fulfilling. And the resistance you feel now is evidence that you are being shaped for what is next. If you constantly view change as loss, you will miss its blessings. But when you see change as alignment, that life is moving you toward the purpose you prayed for. Everything transforms. You begin to value the process, trust the pressure, and appreciate the evolution occurring inside you. You learn to let go with grace, endure with strength, and advance with expectation. Your destiny does not just arrive, you grow into it. And change is the atmosphere that grows you. You may not know what is coming, but you can trust that what is leaving is no longer needed. You may not see the future clearly, but you can believe that preparation is shaping you for the vision you asked for. When you embrace change, you align yourself with destiny instead of resisting it. So breathe. The atmosphere is working in your favor. The winds that unsettled you are the same winds lifting you. The stretching that tired you was the same stretching, expanding you. You are not being broken, you are being built. Your life is not falling apart, it is falling into place. The atmosphere of change surrounds you because destiny is near. Your only task is to trust the process, walk forward, and allow change to shape you into the person capable of receiving what you once hoped for.